Guru Rup Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So in our past videos in English, we've talked many times about how our mind is a king, is also the child of God, and within its inner mansion has many gifts for it, so that it could be at peace while at home inside this body, which is above our eyes, known as the 10th gate. Now, how does our mind fall asleep within Maya, within this land? Guru Sahib tells us in great detail that when our mind initially leaves the 10th gate inside, at that point, the 5 thieves, the Panj Doots, or we can say the 5 demons as well, and their leader, Kal, also known as Shaitan, in English known as Satan, come to greet the mind. The mind at that time is not aware that these 5 demons will actually betray the mind. The mind at that time thinks that these are my friends. The mind enters this land of Maya along with its own 5 senses, which are for the subtle body, the astral body. And our mind, when it enters this area, Kal and the 5 demons, they present a gift for this mind. Maharaj says, Jamakal mile de pet sevak nit hoy. They act as servants at that time and offer a gift to this mind. And the mind accepts this gift and moves on into this Maya, thinking that everything is all going correctly in the kingdom, which is this body. Kal, though, on the other hand, has other plans, and in cahoots with the 5 thieves, they decide to intoxicate the mind, with each of the 5 taking up a role to make the mind become drunk in Maya. Maharaj tells us, Kalkal wali kam mad manua pivanhar, that kam, which is lust, is used as a intoxicant, as an alcohol for the mind. It is served within the cup or the bowl of anger. Krodh katori, moh pari pilava ahankar. Worldly attachment fills the cup of anger with the intoxicant being lust. And ego is the one that puts that bowl to the lips of the mind. Majlis kude lab ki pee hoye khwar. The mind drinks this intoxicant in an area which is created by greed, lobh. Majlis kude lab ki pee hoye khwar. And the mind becomes ruined. When the mind takes this intoxicant in, our mind at that time falls asleep in Maya. And everyone that is devoid of Nam, that is detached from Nam, is actually asleep. Maharaj says, Tehi guni sansar param sutta sutayaran mehani, that within the Trigun, where there is Rajogun, Satogun, and Tamogun, our minds are all asleep in disillusion and in doubt, because we have no idea of where the truth is. And the truth is, as explained before, Sach, Paramatma, God. Now, Maharaj then tells us when the mind falls asleep, so do the 5 senses of the mind, which are the 5 senses of the subtle body. Maharaj says, Naino neend paradrishta vikar. The eyes of the subtle body fall asleep looking at different forms of Maya. Naino neend paradrishta vikar, sarvan soye sunnind vichar. The ears fall asleep listening to slander and gossip. Sarvan soye sunnind vichar. Rasna soyi lo meethe saad. Our tongue falls asleep of the subtle body with the tastes of delicacies of Maya, what we eat within this physical plane for our physical body. Nano neend par drishtavikar sarvan soye sunnind vichar rasna soye lo mithe sad man soya maya bismad. That the mind is asleep, fascinated by Maya, the Maya that's inside all the thoughts, Rajogun, Satogun, and Tamogun. Now, the mind falls asleep within this body and starts to use only the physical senses of the body and forgets to ever use its own senses. It is not even aware that it has its own body within this physical body, which is that astral body, because those senses have fallen asleep as well. At that time, Kal, Shaitan, along with the 5 thieves, hatch a plan to take over the kingdom of this mind. And they each try to play a role so that they can do so. First, they make the mind so intoxicated that the mind has no contentment. The mind, always wanting something, having desires within Maya. Na sabur hove phir mange, narad kare khwari. They make him beg for more. Just as our minds have desires, our mind wants this or that. Maharaj says, Lab andera bandi khana ogan pair lahari. At that time, bad qualities become the shackles on the feet. And our mind is stuck in greed. And that greed breeds desires. And that greed is a dark dungeon for the mind. That is where our mind is stuck. Upon this mind, Shaitan, Kal, place a net over all those invisible senses of the astral body. Maharaj says, Kal jal jeva aranani, kani kal sune bikbani. That Kal places a net over the tongue, the eyes, and over the ears, so that with the tongue we can't get Amrit Ras, Brahmras, that Amrit nectar from inside, so that our mind would have peace. And net's placed upon our eyes so that we don't see the Divine One, God. Instead, we only see Maya. Then the net has been placed over the ears so that all we hear is talk of Maya, talk about gossip and slander. And we don't hear the celestial music of God inside. Now, what happens is that the mind at that time, once it's fallen asleep, Kal, along with the 5 thieves, take over the kingdom of the mind. How do they do that? Well, Kal has seen the kingdom of the mind. And what happens is that he decides to duplicate everything within Maya. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that Tamoguna consists of lust, anger, greed, worldly attachment, and ego, slander, gossip, and many other bad qualities, sin, falsehood, etc. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that greed and sin are declared as the king and the prime minister. Lab paap doye raja, mehta kood hua sikdar. Falsehood becomes the treasurer. Kaam neb sad puchiye bebe kare vichar. That everywhere the mind goes in this Maya, all the people that are asleep in Maya, deeply engrossed in Maya, they like to talk about lust and things to do with lust. And everywhere these manmukhs sit, they talk about lust and they just keep the mind attached to this intoxicant in that way. Andi reyat gyan vihuni pahe pare muradar. The subjects of this kingdom become blind. The subjects are within our body. Gyan vihuni. They are devoid of wisdom. And they try to please the dead. The dead are the ones that are also asleep in Maya. They're not living life while alive. They're basically asleep, so are considered dead. Everyone's trying to please each other here. Gyani nache vaje vave roop kare singar. Kal decides that because the mind had within its court its own wise men, known as Gyanis, Kal decides to make Gyanis of a different type in Maya. What type are they? Gyani nache vaje vave roop kare sigar. He created such Gyanis that will sit on stages and wear beautiful clothes, sparkling clothes, and their followers and the Gyanis themselves will basically dance on stage. And you'll see that, where you'll see Gyanis with beautiful, beautiful chole, sparkling chole, playing vaje, and then you'll see their followers playing different instruments like chimte, and they'll wave their arms in the air, wave the chimtes around, and everyone that's watching, instead of paying attention to anything that has to do with Gurbani, they'll be busy singing along and watching all those instruments fly around in the air. Uche kuke vada gave joda ka vichar. Then, because the mind had minstrels within its court, Kal decides to have minstrels in this world as well. But what they'll do is their minds will be asleep, those minstrels. They'll sing loudly. They'll sing epic poems. But all they'll talk about is the physical body only. They won't attach you with Gurbani. Those minstrels that are asleep. Murkh pandit hikmat hujjat sanjay kare pyar. Then Kal decides, because the mind had scholars within its court in Sun Mandal, in the astral plane, Kal decides that in this world he'll call the foolish ones as scholars who have only pyar, love for Maya. Those scholars, as you might recall from our previous videos, the true scholars are the ones that talk about how the mind is born, but the foolish scholars are the ones that only talk about how the physical body is born and then try to pin it upon astrological signs. Dharmi dharm kare gawave mange mukh dwar. Then Kal had known that the court of the mind had righteous people in it, dharmi people in it. So in this world, he created those dharmi people with minds that are asleep, that would call themselves righteous, do deeds of righteousness, but in return ask for salvation. So showing that that righteousness they do is only for exchange of salvation, and thus they had ego in their minds, those righteous ones here in this world. And ego doesn't give you salvation. Dharmi dharm kare gavave mange muktwar. Then Kal had also noticed that the mind had jati sati, those who were committed to each other within that court. Those whose sanjog, whose relationship gets revealed within this world, but is first determined within the Sonamandal, within the astral plane. Instead, Kal decided to create jatis here that would actually call themselves celibate, that they wouldn't get married, and they'd abandon their homes and family life. Jati sadave jugt n jane shad beh kar bar. And they tried to do bhakti, devotional worship of God, by abandoning family life. And by calling themselves jati, calling themselves as being free of Maya, those ones that Kal designed that way, put into those positions, those minds that are asleep, they didn't know the true way to get back to Waheguru, to God. And then he told all these different actors of his, with all their minds being asleep, that you're going to call yourself perfect or complete. Don't think of yourself as any less than being complete, that you are true, either saint, truly, totally understand what life is about, even though they don't. Sabko pura ape hove katna koi aakhe. No one says they're any less than any other. They're all in ego, thinking that they're perfect. But then Guru Sahib tells us, Pat parwana pichhe paiye, ta nanak tolya jape. That in the end is when someone finds out whether they led their life perfectly or not. Because in the end is when we are either going to meet God or we are going to be sent back again in the reincarnation cycle into another form of life. Now, the thing is that Kal decided to duplicate that court of the Mind King within this area of Maya. And when that happened, and the mind remained asleep, so this is our own story here, within this world, falsehood spread. And when we see the world, we see that all the kings, the subjects, the whole world is false. Kal essentially then spread Kood, meaning falsehood, the Raj, the kingship of falsehood. Maharaj says, Kood Raja, Kood Parja, Kood Sab Sansar, that the king, the subjects, and the whole world is false. Kood Mandap, Kood Madi, Kood Besanhar, that the mansions, the skyscrapers, the people that live in them, they're also false. Kood Soina, Kood Rupa, Kood Penanhar, gold, silver, and those that wear them, they've all become false as well. Kood Kaya, Kood Kappad, Kood Rupapar, the body, the clothes the body wears, and the beauty that we see within this Maya, it's all false. Kood Mia, Kood Bibi Kapoe Khar, husbands and wives, they are false. They cry within Maya and they waste away. Kood Kooda Neho Laga Visrya Kartar, the false ones love false. And they forget the only one that's true, which is Waheguru, Sach, Paramatma, God. किस नाल कीचे दोस्ती सब जग चलन हार. Then Maharaj questions us, who should we have friendship with in this world when the entire world is going to go away? We should actually, as an answer to this question, we should be putting priority to becoming friends with God, who is eternal. Kood mitha kood makhyo kood dobe poor. Sweet honey is all false. And many have drowned in this falsehood, in this world. Nanak wakhane benti tud baaj koodo kood. Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us that other than Waheguru, other than the Lord, everything in Maya is false. When we read Gurbani, we find out that this world, everything is false, but the one or the ones that connect to God, to Waheguru, who is true, they also become true. That is what Maharaj teaches us in Gurbani. Now, when this play continues as such, that if our mind doesn't awaken, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, when they came to this world in physical form, they told us that in this dark age, because the mind has remained asleep for so long, and if it doesn't wake up, what will happen in the future? Guru Sahib tells us in Gurbani that as Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji saw when they came, they saw that kings at that time, they used to have akhade. They would have a prostitute dance. And they told us in Gurbani that those people that would watch this, they would have the noose of death around their necks. And unknowingly, they would actually participate in these akhade. Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, ज्यों बेसवा के परै अखारा कापर पैर करे सिंगारा पूरे ताल न हाले सास वाके गले जमका है फास. Just as the prostitute comes to dance in the akhada, wearing beautiful clothes and decorated with jewelry, the people that would watch her would watch so closely that they would try to actually count her breath, the breaths of air that she was taking. And then Maharaj told us that all those people, including that dancer, they have the noose of the messengers of death around their necks. Now Maharaj tells us in Gurbani, because Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji saw what happened there, they told us in Kaljug, this is going to be happening in every household, that people are going to be watching dances like this. And where do we do that? All these television sets that we have in our homes, and where we're watching programs like this, and our mind is enticed by that dancing. Guru Sahib tells us what the world is like in Kaljug. ताल मदीरे कट के काट दौलक दुनिया वाजे वाज नारद नाचे कल का पाओ जति सती के राखे पाओ. That this dance happens in all houses in Kaljug, in the dark age. And with it, the music plays and the mind becomes like a Narad. Narad was the son of Brahma, and he used to have this habit of not sitting in one spot. He would either venture across to one area in the world or another. And at that time, he used to really like to do gossip as well. And just as that, Maharaj tells us in Gurbani that when we watch all this on TV, all this excitement that people see, entertainment, that our minds become restless. They start to dance as well, along with the dancing that is being watched on TV, along with the dancing that they're seeing. Narad nache kalka pao, jati sati ke rakhe pao. And those who are committed to each other, Maharaj says, where are they going to put their feet upon this earth? So Maharaj actually tells us that in this dark age, people that are truly committed to each other are going to be very rare. People that are truly committed to each other are not going to be able to put their feet anywhere on the earth, meaning that's how bad the situation of relationships is going to go in the dark age. Nanak naam vitton qurban andi duniya sahib jaan rahao. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji says they sacrifice themselves for naam. And they say the world is blind and andi duniya sahib jaan. We should recognize the Lord. Then Guru Sahib tells us, those who are disciples of a spiritual teacher, a Guru pason phir chela khaye, that in the dark age, the disciples will actually feed themselves from what is handed over to the spiritual teacher. Tame preet vasakar aaye. And then they'll have love for tamogun, for those bad qualities inside. We see this in Kali Yuga as well, that the disciples fight over the golak, where money is placed in front of Guru Sahib. That's why you see so many fights in Gurdwaras, that all those people, they're fighting over money. So religious institutions, they get degraded within this dark age as well. The disciples try to feed themselves with what has been turned over to the Guru. People bow to Guru Sahib and they place money within that golak, within that box that's in front of Guru Sahib, and people fight over all that money. Tame preet vasakar aaye. All those people that fight, then they love the avgunas, the bad qualities, tamogun. And that love for tamogun is what gets installed within their home, this body. Maharaj then tells us, Jeso vareyan jeevan khan khasam pashane so din parwan. If one were to live for 100 years, their life will only be accepted the day they recognize Vaheguru, the Lord. Khasam pashane so din parwan. In Kali Yuga, then Maharaj tells us that by seeing another, no one is going to have any compassion arise within them. Darshan dekhya daya na hoye. People won't have compassion for each other. Le ditte bin rahe na koye. Without giving and taking, no one is going to help anyone within this world. No one is going to do any task. Raja niyao kare hat hoye. Kahe khudai na mane koye. The kings will only deliver justice if something's handed to them in their hand, i.e. rishvad, black money. They'll ask for money under the table. Kahe khudai na mane koye. If someone says God's name to them and in the name of God ask for help, they won't help. That is the sign of the kings of the dark age. Manas Murat Nanak Naam Karni Kutta Dar Farman. People will have forms of humans, and they'll only be human in name, but their deeds will be like dogs. Karni Kutta Dar Farman. Gur Prasad Jane Mehman Tankish Dargah Pave Man. With the grace of the Guru, if someone realizes that they are only a guest within this world, they will actually receive honor within the court of the Lord. Then Maharaj tells us, in Kali Yuga, in this dark age, when every mind is asleep and they continue like this, Maharaj then tells us that people will be so blind that they won't know who to go to. everything will be opposite of what it was in the original time periods. Maharaj says, Ande akli bahare kya tinso kahiye. One that is devoid of wisdom is blind. What can you say to such a person? Bin gur panth na suji ke tabid nar bahiye. Without the Guru, the right path cannot be seen. Then how can anyone proceed within this world? Khote ko khara kahe, khara sar na jane. That people will consider whatever's false as genuine, and they won't know the value of what is actually genuine. Ande ka nau parkhu kali kal vidane. In this dark age, the blind, so the ones that are devoid of knowledge, will be considered as appraisers. People will go to them, and like we see in today's world, they'll ask them for the spiritual path, but those people will be blind. They won't be able to guide them. Ande ka nau parkhu kali kal vidane. Then that's going to be a strange thing in this dark age. Sute ko jagat kahe, jagat ko suta. The person that is asleep is going to be considered awake. And those who are truly awake are going to be considered asleep by people. So the people that are actually asleep in Maya, always in thoughts, have no wisdom of divine, they're going to be considered by other people that are asleep as being awake, that they know how to live life. But those that are truly awake, actually know what life is about, and want to meet God, people of the world that are asleep themselves, they're going to think these people are asleep. They don't know anything about living life. Jeevat ko mua ka hai, muhe nahi rota. Those people who are alive, are living according to the spiritual guidance of the Guru, people are going to think these people are just dead. And those who have truly died, meaning that they've died in Maya, people aren't going to mourn for them because they're not going to consider them as being dead. They're going to say these people are just like us. Aavad ko jata kahe, jate ko aya. When one is coming, people are going to say that that person is going. When someone is going, they're going to say that person is coming. What this means is when we go into our inner mansion and people here, because they don't realize that they're within a place which is not our true home, people in Maya are going to think the ones that go into their inner mansions are gone or are goners. And those people that come into Maya from the inner mansion, they're going to say, these people are the ones that have actually come into the world. So basically, they're going to consider anyone that's on the spiritual path as being not a part of this world. Parki ko apni kahe, apno nahi paya. People in Maya, the one that belongs to them, they're going to consider him or her not their own. But one that doesn't belong to them, they're going to consider that person their own. As you can see what happens with relationships in the dark age. Meethe ko koda kahe, kadue ko meetha. What is sweet will be considered bitter, and what is bitter will be considered sweet in Maya, in this dark age. Sweet is Amrit Ras, Brahm Ras, nectar that's inside, our real food. But people here in Maya that are asleep, they're going to say that that's too hard to do. They're going to find it bitter, try to even go on this path to try to get that nectar. So they're going to consider that nectar bitter. And what is actually bitter is the Maya that we're stuck in, but people are going to think it's sweet. Rate ki ninda kare, aisa kal mein jita. Those who are absorbed in the love of the Lord, they are going to be slandered by others. They're going to be talked bad about by others in this dark age. चेरी की सेवा करे ठाकर नहीं दिसै, पोखर नीर बरोलिया माखन नहीं रिसै. The mind will serve the maid, which is Maya, and will not see the Thakar, meaning our master, the Lord. Pokhar neer baroliya makhan nahi risai. But Maharaj then tells us that basically what these people will do in this dark age is they're going to be churning water. But churning water does never produce butter, meaning that they're going to keep working in Maya, for Maya, but it will not produce any result. Then Maharaj tells us that at the same time, Kaljug is dark age, where even though most minds are asleep, there's very few that are awake, that this is the age where Naam will be revealed. Maharaj says it'll be revealed to those who run into the shelter of the Guru. Gupta Naam, hidden Naam, Naam is hidden. Gupta Naam vartay vich Kaljug, kat kat har purpur rahya, Naam ratan, tina hirday pragtya jo gur saranai bhaj pya. The one that runs into the shelter of the Guru, they will have that Naam revealed to them within their hearts, within themselves. Maharaj then says that along with that Naam, Anhad Bani, the celestial music that plays within, will be revealed as well. Gupti Bani Pargat Hoye, Nanak Parkhale Sach Soye. By saying that, Maharaj tells us that it's important that we go into the shelter of the Guru. We become disciples of the true spiritual master so that we can go along the spiritual path. Otherwise, Maharaj then tells us further what happens in Kaljug. Maharaj says that in this dark age, Kaljug, Sati Paap Kar Sat Kamahe, that people will do sin to try to accumulate wealth. Gur Dikhya Kar Devan Jahe, that spiritual teachers will go from their own homes to instruct their disciples. And we actually see that happening within our own community as well. Guru Granth Sahib Ji kare aunde hai. Guru Granth Sahib Ji comes to our houses, and the people at the house, they don't listen to what Guru Granth Sahib Ji says during their Akhand Paths. Instead, they're busy gossiping and talking to their relatives, sitting away from Guru Granth Sahib Ji while Guru Granth Sahib Ji is giving spiritual instruction. That happens in our community as well. And Guru Sahib tells us that spiritual teachers in Kaljug, in the dark age, they'll go to people's homes to instruct them. But the people just still won't listen. In the old days, it used to be that people would go to the spiritual teacher to learn. In Kaljug, it's going to be opposite. And that respect that people used to show before is not at that level that it used to be in the older ages or early on in Kaljug, in the dark age. Istri purkha khatiya pao, pame aavo, pame jao. So as the dark age goes on, more and more degradation of values and commitments starts to occur within this world. What happens is that you'll notice that as the dark age progresses, all those things that people used to consider sin, people used to consider wrong, slowly Shaitan, Kal, aka Satan, is trying to desensitize people to those things so that they think that this is normal. People sometimes are just no longer willing to accept being a man or a woman based on their physical bodies as well within the dark age. Some people go so far as to they think they're better off living like animals within this dark age, with no rules, with no regulations. As we see, Shaitan tries to degrade all the values of righteousness that were carried forth to this age from before by desensitizing everyone to sin. Istri purkha khatiya pao, pame avo, pame jao. Men and women will only love each other in the dark age for wealth. They won't care where the person goes in their relationship to get the wealth. They will just want money. That's all. Sast bed na mane koe, apo ape puja hoy. People won't obey the religious texts. Like for instance, here Maharaj has given an example of the Shastras, the Vedas. People aren't going to obey or believe in the religious texts. Apo ape puja hoy. People will worship themselves. Then Maharaj tells us some faiths, like Islamic faith, there's a Qaji. And Maharaj saw that what would happen is, Qaji hoy ke behe nyay, that the Qaji would have to administer justice. Fere tasbih kare khudai. And they'll chant while they use their rosaries. They'll say God's name. But their habits were vaddi lake haq gawai. They accepted bribes and blocked justice. Jeko puche ta pad sunai. If someone would ask, they'd read quotations from their texts and send the person away. So this is just an example of Qaji being from an Islamic faith, but this is applying to everyone. So when we see, like for instance, the people that in our community itself, the ones that have to give off a judgment, the Jathedar usually sitting at the Akal Takht. And many years ago, you'll know that they decided to forgive someone who is guilty of many crimes. And when there was an uproar amongst our community, they had to revert on their initial decision. So they basically showed that they are the leaders and they can make decisions, and then they had to revert on those decisions. Maharaj says that similarly, just as this Qaji, Turk Mantra ka Nirday Samay, that they have their scriptures all memorized, Lok Mahave Chadi Khai, but they plunder the people and they engage in gossip of others and want to be flattered themselves by their own praise. And then Guru Sahib gives us an example of a Hindu. Chaunka de ke sucha hoy. Aisa Hindu vekho koi. There's a Hindu that cleans his kitchen, makes it all pure, and in the household, the Hindu amongst the family tries to be like a yogi, one that has actually abandoned households. Why is Maharaj telling us this? Jogi girhi jata biput. So he becomes like a religious person within the household with matted hair and ashes on his body. Aage pache rove put. But within the household, he detached himself so much from his family that the children run around behind him and in front of him crying because they need stuff too. And then in that situation, his mind can't contemplate God, can't meet God. That's what happens in the Kali Yuga as well. You'll see people become religious, but then they don't take care of the responsibilities of their householder life as well, which is important. We are supposed to do our spiritual practice and keep up with our responsibilities in our homes. Jog na paya jugt gawai, kit karan sirshai pai. Then Guru Sahib says that person does not attain jog. Jog means to connect. And they don't connect with God because they don't have that technique. They lose that technique. Kit karan sirshai pai. Then Maharaj questions, why did that person apply ashes to his forehead? What was the point? Nanak kalka eho pravan, ape akhan ape jan. Maharaj says that the sign of the dark age is going to be that you won't be able to tell others about spirituality. This is as Dark Age goes further and further. Ape akhan ape jaan, that everyone is only going to be able to instruct themselves. No one's going to listen to anyone. Fir Maharaj says, in Kal Yug, je ko sat kare so chijai tap kar tap na hoy. Practicing the truth will be detrimental. Je ko sat kare so chijai tap kar tap na hoy. And the homes where there should be bhakti happening, there should be devotional worship, there won't be any devotional worship. Je ko naon le badnami kal ke lakhan ei. As Kal Yug, the Dark Age, goes on, if someone in the future, if someone says the name of God, they will be punished. Je ko sat kare so chijai tap kar tap na hoy, je ko naon le badnami kal ke lakhan ei. That anyone that repeats the name of the Lord, they will be scorned, they will be slandered by others, they will be punished by others. When Kal Yug comes to such a point where even people that repeat God's name are punished, what will happen is Anna Labao Parampalai, there'll be fire and wind that'll be spreading everywhere. And in such a place, what that means is Satoguna, which is actually derived from water. As you'll remember from our previous videos, Satoguna will disappear. Everyone will be only up to Rajogun and Tamogun, the bad qualities, and just about making money, worldly exercise to feed the body and family, and that's it. No one will rise above that. Maharaj says in such a time, there will be many types of murkhs, fools, that'll come up. As Maharaj says in Japji Sahib, Asangh murkh andhkor. When there's high level of ignorance in this world, there'll be countless fools. Asangh murkh andhkor, asangh chor haram khor, asangh amr kar jahe jor, asangh galwad hatya kamahe, asangh papi paap kar jahe, asangh kudiyar kude phirahe, asangh malesh mal pak khaye, asangh nindak sir kare par. There will be a lot of sin committed in this world. That is why Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, also knowing this, they blessed us with Shastras, with the Kripan, to be able to protect ourselves when time comes. In such a situation where there's so many fools in the world, it'll be very difficult to save someone else. Everyone would have to protect themselves with their own Shastras, with their own weapons. That's why Maharaj made sure to give us the Kripan so that we can protect ourselves going forward in this dark age. And when such a situation occurs in this world, and there's wind and fire that's spreading everywhere, that's when, in this world, all weapons, from the knife to the atom bomb, hydrogen bombs, weapons like that will be used. And when such weapons are used at that level, it will disturb the balance of nature on this earth. And Maharaj then tells us that the only ones that can survive in such a situation are the ones that will have done practice of Nam Abhyas, or the ones that God wants to save. At Nanded Sahib, Maharaj was asked, Sri Gobind Singh Ji was asked by the Sikhs, in such a situation, who's going to remain? Who's going to be able to survive? Maharaj then told us, Rogante arsogante jal jogante bopant bachave, that God protects everyone from sickness, from hurt, from pain. And jal jogan, in such a situation, what happens is when the balance of nature is destroyed, God releases water from the oceans and wind from this air and fire from the earth to restore the balance of the world in terms of the physical elements. In terms of the physical elements. At that time, there's many types of creatures that exist within the water itself that are enemies of man. And Jogan are one of those enemies of man. And Maharaj says, Rogan te arsogan te jal jogan te bahu pant bachave. Satar nek chalawat kav tau tan ek na lagan pave. But God can protect someone from rog, sickness, sog, pain, jal jogan, certain creatures that would try to feast upon man. Satara nek chalawat kav tau tan ek na lagan pave. That if an enemy strikes many blows, if Vaheguruji wants, if God wants, none of those blows actually touch our body. Rakat hai apno kar de kar paap samu na petan pave. When the Lord protects with His own hands, even sins can't come near our mind or our body. Aur ki baat kahan keh to so pet hi ke pat beech bachave. Then Guru Sahib says, what's the biggest example that we can give you? What else should we say? God protects the infant in the womb if God wants as well. At that time, Maharaj then tells us in Gurbani that in such a situation, that those people that also jap the Gurmantar, they get a kala, they get an art that they can use. That when they look upon such truth, Paramatma, that their elements absorb into the truth as well. Just as Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji did and Guru Gobind Singh Ji did at the end when they left into Sachkhand. They took their physical forms with them. That technique is told to us in Gurbani as to how we can do that if we look at Sach Paramatma. Maharaj says, Nirankar mein akar samave, akal kala sach sach takave so nar garb jon nahi aave. That if we focus in on the formless God, that our form, our physical body, can absorb into formless God, and we don't have to come back in reincarnation ever. That's why Guru Sahib says, Naam raheo, sadhu raheo, raheo Guru Gobind. Kaho Nanak e jagat mein kin japyo Gurmant. That Naam will always remain. The saints will always remain. And the Guru always remains. Kaho Nanak e jagat mein kin japyo Gurmant. Whoever chants the Gurmantar, like we chant Vaheguru Gurmantar, whoever chants the Gurmantar will remain too. They will survive. Because at that time, when all those air, water, and fire are released upon the world in that way to balance or restore the balance of the five elements, at that time is the time Parlo comes, which means destruction. Maharaj told us a lot about what happens in the Dark Age, which has not been mentioned here today. But that is what will happen in this world if our minds remain asleep. As Kaljog, the Dark Age, goes on, sin increases. People get more desensitized to it, and it becomes the norm. And that's all the plan of Kal, because his reign is more powerful in Kaljug. And right now, Kaljug is only about maybe 5,000 years old. And it has a long way to go. It's not even a teenager yet. It's very young. That is why it's important that we try to go along the path of spirituality and teach others the same path so that they too can connect with God. Within this Dark Age, there can be a golden age as well. That was all for today. In speaking, if I made any mistake, please forgive me. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.